I mean, look, it's a classic story in a lot of ways. I'm not
Okay.
going to pretend to be unique. There were times when, we went on food stamps for a couple of years and $50 in the bank account, and that's it. And no idea where the money's going to come from.
Do you look back on that with like, those are the worst days, or do you have a fondness about it?
Both. I mean, those were some of the worst days for my marriage. I mean, you get into year 2 of that, and it's like...
So you're on food stamps for a long time. You're struggling for a long time.
Long time.
Wow, this is like a fascinating aspect of your story, man.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I was probably out of work without any real actual income for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I honestly, looking back, I don't even know how we got through that time. It doesn't make any sense. Like, we should have lost our house, and we didn't. And look, I would try to work odd jobs, but every time I went for that 9 to 5, there was this voice, that would just say, "Don't do that."
So you're willing to go work whatever just to provide for your family. It wasn't like an obstinate kind of attitude.
Not at all.
But you just felt like the doors kept closing, and whatever this voice inside you is like, man, just don't give up on what you felt was your
suffer
calling.
through this right now because it will make sense later.
I see.
And look, it's one thing for me to know that. It's another thing for my wife, to put faith in that, because she's looking at me, because there's an aspect of, well, I really want to do this. This is really fun. Being in the working movies, telling stories, it's fun. We're 3 years into that.
Right.
Maybe you learned what you needed to learn,
Right.
and maybe it's time to move on, and maybe you're just being bullheaded just because you love it.
Right. From a wife's standpoint, it's like, I can see the excitement of, hey, this is going to be really fun for you, really rewarding, really fulfilling. A couple years later, when we're not making ends meet, get past the fun, husband, and go dig ditches if you have to.
Right.
We got bills to pay.
Exactly. And look, coming from where I came from, the guys that brought me in the industry, I separated from them after a couple of years, and they were really intent on doing horror films, and that really
not your thing.
Wasn't my thing.
Okay.
It never was, but it was clear that like they were going this way and I was going that way, and so at a certain point, I was literally on my own with no connections, none, and I have this idea for this crazy movie that no one can figure out.
This would be the shift?
This would be the shift.
Okay, yes.
I had this idea for this movie, and I had this short film, and everybody's like, well, this short film's great.
Right.
What is it? And who's ever going to watch it?
Sure.
So, I said the same thing every other short film director says, which is, I'd love to turn this into a feature film. And then, yes, when Angel got going and The Chosen got going, and I saw an opportunity, initially that opportunity was just, well, let me get my short film on Angel's website so that I can make some money from it. And so that was the whole thought.
Okay.
But as soon as they saw the film, the next thing I knew, I was on the phone with the Harmons. And who were,
and the Harmons are the
owners of what became Angel Studios. Sure. And they basically had one question for me: is there more?
Was this during a real dark time of your life when you made the original short film?
Yeah.
In 2015?
Yeah.
Was that during the hard times were just describing?
Yeah. I mean, I made the short film in December of 2015.
Okay.
And I was now over a year being out of work. So the only way I got it done, the only way I got that short film done was really with volunteers, with people volunteering, whether it was the cinematographer, the actors, the special effects, all of it. I had $500. $500 was what I put into that film. And that wasn't even real money. It was food stamp money, because all I was able to do was take a portion of our food stamp money and buy some food to feed people on set. Because look, you can get people to volunteer their time, but if you can't feed them, you're not going to get it done.
It's rough.
So that's what I did. I took $500 of food stamps money. I invested it into the film. Everything else was just free labor.
Yeah.
And so asking people to compose a score and do special effects for free, you're going to wait a year before that's all done. And so it did. It was about a year of post production.
Sure.
So the thing finally comes out. And it doesn't go onto YouTube. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes into a few film festivals, and I did secular film festivals, because at that point I wasn't even familiar with faith film festivals. And if you actually watch that short film through secular eyes, the film plays as a secular film until the final 2 minutes, when all of a sudden this guy breaks out into a prayer, and so the faith aspect of it actually plays as a bit of a twist. And so it was well received mostly by secular film festivals. Like, I was surprised, like they went with it.
Okay.
And so that was cool. I got some accolades, and then it just kind of, faded from there. And then it was, a few years later that Angel Studios started coming up, and I had this thing.